Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kevin Gilmore with the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office located in Salado, Louisiana. This is going to be your weekly weather briefing for Wednesday, July 3rd. Starting off with a situation overview where we will be discussing weather hazards in the next 5 to 7 days. Obviously, we are very closely monitoring the tropics. We'll be talking about that coming up here just shortly. But for here locally, heat remains the main focus today going into Thursday, and that may get into some people's July 4th plans. We're talking about excessive to oppressive heat. Will be continuing today into tomorrow, but it might back down some as we get into the weekend. Otherwise, elevated daily hit or miss rain chances are going to persist. Very similar to what we're seeing today. Just, not everybody's going to see rainfall. Some might see a lot of rainfall. But that's going to be persisting all the way through this upcoming weekend. We may have to watch for a stronger storm or two and maybe some localized flash flooding. But again, that'll be persisting at least for the next 5 to 7 days. Starting things off with a situation overview of the tropics. Before we talk about Beryl, we're going to talk about one tropical disturbance which is crossing into the Windward Islands into the Caribbean, has a 20% chance of development in the next 7 days. It's way too soon to know whether the system will have any direct impacts to the local area or to the Gulf Coast. We're just going to have to kind of keep an eye on it. Obviously, the main story here is going to be Major Hurricane Beryl, which is continuing towards the west-northwest in the Caribbean and is impacting Jamaica this afternoon, causing devastating impacts to those areas are expected with hurricane warnings in effect. The storm is going to be continuing to the west-northwest, impacting the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and then crossing into the southwest Gulf near the Bay of Campeche as a tropical storm and could re-strengthen back to a hurricane. And by this point, there is a spreading model guidance that we're going to kind of pay attention to, and you should too, as we get towards later this week into the upcoming weekend, where the storm could be impacting portions of Mexico and or southern Texas. It's going to be hard to say exactly which areas will be seeing direct impacts. As far as if this track were to be true and the forecast were to pan out for our local area, we're not expecting any direct impacts, but indirect impacts could be possible, including a larger swell out in the waters, out into the Gulf waters, and we'll have to monitor for any type of maybe elevated tides. But otherwise, no direct impacts. However, due to the spreading guidance as we get past that day 5 time frame, going past Saturday, going into Monday, that's where we're going to have to really pay attention because models are spreading in that time frame where it could be moving more towards the northwest or maybe northwest towards the Texas coast. Again, we're just going to have to keep an eye on it, and you should too as we continue through the rest of the weekend this upcoming weekend. And we show this on social media a lot here, where these are the details of what you can reasonably expect from a hurricane forecast from the lead time. Where we're at right now is day 5 through 7, which is actually we just talked about. We're talking about the possibilities where it could go, what we're getting an idea of impacts, but we'll be able to provide more information as we near closer days 3 through 5 and even days 1 through 2. That'll be when the storm is getting into the southwest Gulf. We'll know definitely by now what type of system we're dealing with and what kind of impacts we'll be expecting from the system. But for now, we're expecting the system more than likely to remain well to our west or southwest. When it comes to any type of direct impacts, that may be more towards Texas into Mexico. Again, if you have family, friends, or any interest out in those areas, definitely pay attention. And if you have any friends or family, let them know. Let them know what's the type of storm is coming up to the local area, and to follow official sources for the latest information. Now, for here locally, we're going to be talking about today, going all the way through the rest of the week and into the upcoming weekend. For today, we have excessive heat. Heat indices 108 to 115. Oppressive heat will continue on July 4th on Thursday. And then the heat may back down just a little bit Friday going up to the upcoming weekend, even into next week. Well, it's still elevated, but backing down from that excessive heat region. Severe weather, we may have some daily strong storms here or there. Gusty winds will be the main concern, dangerous lightning. We've got to kind of keep an eye on that too. Again, scattered to numerous rain chances. Not everybody will see rain every day, but the chances are you may have a passing shower storm at times. And with any of those storms, localized flash flooding could be possible all the way through any storm possible, all the way through the early parts of next week. Little details too about talking about the excessive heat warning in effect today and the surrounded by the heat advisory. The excessive heat warning is in effect today through 7 o'clock for heat indices of 113 to 115. So, heat advisory surrounding that for heat indices 108 to 113 through 7 o'clock. So once the sun goes down, it'll still be humid and it'll still be pretty hot outside, but we won't be seeing those excessive heat conditions much longer. Also, the rain chances will be backing down too once the sun sets. It'll just be muggy as it's always been every evening all the way through the rest of the night. Now on Thursday, we're talking about July 4th here, we have a heat advisory in effect for most areas except for the far southeast Louisiana coastline. This is for heat indices of 108 to 111 from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, once the sun starts to set, we should see those heat indices back down. So just know, if you have any plans outdoors during the day, it is going to be hot. While we don't have excessive heat warnings in effect, don't let your guard down. It's still going to be hot. Make sure you take numerous breaks in the shade. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water, that is. And make sure you have pets. If you have pets, make sure they have adequate shade and water. And always check on your neighbors, ill and elderly. Don't leave anybody in the car. No babies in the car. Make sure that you take the necessary precautions against this type of heat, especially with everyone being out and about on July 4th. A little bit of extra detail here. Here you go. This is a 3-hour forecast Thursday into Thursday night for select locations, showing you the time frame of where we're expecting some of the more higher heat indice values. You can see some of those locations getting 108 to 110. Those higher heat indices are going to be generally between 12 and 6 p.m., backing off around that 6 o'clock time frame once the sun sets. And for hit or miss rain chances, your window for greatest chances are going to be between noon and 6 o'clock, more specifically that 3 to 6 o'clock time frame. So if you're worried about fireworks, you're worried about shooting them off, once the sun sets, rain should be tapering, but there may be some lingering showers around, as they typically are right after sunset. It's just hard to say who will see a specific, like what specific location will see a shower or possibly stay dry. You're just gonna have to check the forecast, check if you have a radar app, anything like that. If you could check the local radar, be sure to kind of check back. If it's raining, it may hold off, it may die soon. It's one of those things where you have to kind of just check it, because by the time we get to like 8 to 9 o'clock, that's where rain chances really drop off fast. So again, we may have some lingering showers around sunset, but again, it's not expected to be an all evening or nighttime washout, nothing like that, with all activity likely coming to an end and becoming dry as we go through the rest of the night. 5-day forecast here, talking about all the way through the weekend into next week. As we mentioned before, the heat indices are backing down some, but still remaining elevated in that 103 to 108 range. Highs are going to be generally in the mid-90s, and you see those elevated rain chances continuing all the way Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, generally in that 60 to 70% range. Again, not an all-day washout for everyone, but hit or miss showers, possibly even numerous showers, can be expected. And going beyond that, let's look really far beyond, go to day 8 through 14. Now we're talking about late next week into next weekend. We're starting to see that maybe leaning to likely above normal temperatures will persist, which is pretty much where we're at now. Temperatures probably persisting into that mid-90s range, which means heat indices may remain elevated as well. And as far as precipitation goes, we're in this elevated precipitation, elevated rain chance pattern. Looks like that'll kind of keep going beyond the next 7 days, leaning to above normal pretty much for all areas across the northern Gulf Coast. Summary of what we talked about: we're going to be closely monitoring the tropics, and be sure that you continue to follow as well National Hurricane Center and official sources to make sure you're getting the right information. Heat is going to be the main focus today going into Thursday. Again, excessive heat warnings in effect today. Heat advisories going in tomorrow. Make sure you take the necessary precautions to get the heat if you're outdoors tomorrow. Elevated daily hit or miss rain chances continuing every single day. Any stronger storm could consist those gusty winds, dangerous lightning, and localized flash flooding, so make sure you are weather aware each day. And that will conclude this briefing. I hope you have a safe July 4th and a great weekend ahead.